Each September, federal, state, county, and local officials get together to celebrate something they call National Preparedness Month. Sabit Abbasi with the DuPage County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management is here to talk to us about what that is and how they're preparing. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, can you tell me a little bit more about, on the local level, what does National Preparedness Month entail?
So the National Preparedness Month, which is in September, basically helps us to be in line with the messaging that is going out through the state and as well as the federal level. So essentially everybody is talking about being prepared. And there are a number of things people can do. So in this part of the region, they can highlight on certain hazards that can happen. So they could do hazard-specific drills and exercises and start looking at their emergency supply kit and maybe replenishing supplies that need to be replenished, and just a neat way to kind of stop and think about emergency preparedness and just focus on that.
Now, I would assume what we have here is an emergency preparedness kit. Is that correct?
Yeah, so this is just one of the many emergency preparedness kits. I've got this particular one, as you see, it's in a duffel bag. There are a number of kits you can have. One for your car during the winter time. You can have an emergency supply kit for winter, for summer. And then also the trick with this is keeping it so it's portable. So one thing I always keep in mind is either using a duffel bag or luggage. If you're not going on vacation and you have luggage sitting, the rolling containers, maybe using that as an emergency supply kit so that if you load items in there, you could just take it with you if you need to evacuate your home. So as you see here, this is a duffel bag. It's got a number of different items, but some of the basics are food, water, and some activity booklets. So for example, here I've got this, it's called Learning Natural Disaster Safety book. And this is a great activity book for children who, if the power goes out, I know many children nowadays, they rely on their cell phones or iPads and tablets and different things to keep themselves entertained. Well, what if that stops working? If it's an extended power outage, then what do you need to? So sometimes a good old-fashioned way is having an activity booklet. I've also got a Frisbee here that people can keep in their emergency supply kit, and a variety of different things so that kids and the adults can keep themselves busy. There's so many different games, and I grew up playing snakes and ladders. So if that's something that would keep me entertained, I'll keep that in an emergency supply kit. So that's something to consider, is depending on your family's needs and dietary restrictions, you may want to have those particular items in here. So another example I'll provide is someone who has access and functional needs. If you are someone who relies on hearing aids, maybe having extra batteries in there for those hearing aids and things of that nature.
Okay. Now, in terms of food, what types of food do you suggest people have? Non-perishable?
Non-perishable food, and I've got canned food here. So this is an example of the canned food I've got. And keep in mind, if you've got canned food that does not have this manual lid opener, then you may want to have a manual can opener. That way you can open it and actually use it. And like you said, non-perishable food items that will last you a while. And not only that, will provide you energy, because chances are you're going to need the energy. And at the same time, just having food items in there that are sort of the comfort foods. Certain food items people like eating, especially in an emergency when so many things are happening. Sometimes you just want to grab, a bag of potato chips or, some candy or something. Consider having those. It doesn't hurt to have them. Just make sure you have other food items that provide the actual energy in there. The other thing to consider is if someone is diabetic, maybe having items in there that a person who has diabetes can take into account. They've got a number of different items for diabetic patients. The pills, the sugar tablets. They've got energy bars that are specifically designed for diabetic people. So different things you can have in there.
Okay, what else do we have in here? This looks like some sort of radio.
I've got this weather radio. This is just an example. There are a number of different kinds of weather radios. The key thing to remember is have one in your emergency supply kit. So if there's a power outage and you need to evacuate, you can grab one that's either hand cranked, as this one is, or a battery operated. So that way, if you are traveling, let's say if you're going on vacation, you can have the weather radio with you, and it'll alert you for the different disasters that can happen, different emergencies, different messages that can go on. So going in line with this, if you have cell phones, make sure you have extra cell phone chargers and things of that nature. So nowadays, they've got those battery packs that you can, USB battery packs and chargers. Maybe put a couple of those in there and make sure they're charged. So if you need it, you have it with you. So, and then also I've got important personal documents. A number of important documents will be handy. So if you, for example, Social Security cards, copies of those, passports, your driver's license, making sure you have copies of those. So if you were to lose them, at least you have copies. Insurance policies. So if you have renter's insurance or home insurance policy, or if you've got flood insurance policy, having copies of those so that you know exactly what is covered. The other thing I would suggest is keeping a checklist of some of the items that you have in your home, some of the more expensive items, or things that you want to make sure when you submit a claim to the insurance company, you've got those items. So the other thing I would suggest is photographs, and that's kind of what would go in with the important personal documents, is photographs of jewelry that you may have or other things. Take photographs, get them printed, store them with your other important personal documents.
And what's this orange thing over here?
So this is, So this is an emergency whistle and an orange emergency tarp. A whistle is handy if something happens, and a tarp of some sort. Now this just happens to be orange tarp, just so that it makes it easy to see. But you can have different kinds of tarps So let's say you are home and you need to shelter in place. You can have tarp and other types of duct tape, for example, so that you can seal your home or your apartment so that hazardous materials or chemicals don't come into your home. So you may have shelter in place where if there's a tanker truck that rolled over and that's releasing, there's fire and it's releasing fumes, you want to shelter in place, so you can have some tarp and duct tape so that you can seal yourself in your home.
Okay. Well, this looks like a pre-made kit.
Yeah, so, obviously this is a kit where you can add additional items, food items, but there are also these emergency survival supply kit that you can purchase. These are pre-assembled kits. And they contain a variety of different things. So, for example, it's got water, it's got a food bar, it's got some first aid kit supplies. But keep in mind, this is something you can purchase. And for those residents that are familiar with the military and armed forces, they may be familiar with the MREs. So there are different types of things that are available. But at the same time, keeping in mind, if you purchase something like this, or if you purchase a kit that's already assembled, which they do sell in the stores, just make sure you go through it so that you know exactly what's in there, and if it's missing anything, you can add to it.
What are some other things that people might need to customize, like medications, or what other things should you make specific to your kit?
So you brought up a great example, medications. That is specific to the different people. Earlier, provided an example of someone who's got diabetes. The medication is different for every person who's got diabetes. The different dosage, and if someone takes insulin as opposed to taking tablets. So ensuring you have those supplies on hand. Talk to your doctor to see if they can provide extra prescription. That way, in case if you don't have to go to the doctor, if you can go to the doctor, you can get that prescription.
Okay. Now, what else is in here? Do you have a guideline for about how much food and water?
So we recommend having at least 3 days worth of food and water. That way, if there's an extended power outage, you can at least hope to have that many days. We saw that during the flooding of 2013, where the roads were impassable. People couldn't go to the store. And because it was a flood event, it took a few days before the water receded. So you may end up not being able to go to the store. So make sure you have that. The other couple of things I've got is just some extra cash you can have in here. People rely on credit cards, and there's a bunch of different cards they've got and online purchasing. But if the internet is down, if you're not able to make those purchases, if you're not able to use the credit card, then having extra cash is helpful. In my wallet, I keep emergency cash at all times. If I end up using that for lunch, then I make sure I replenish it. But there's always some emergency cash with me that I keep. And it's just loose change. And there's not a set amount. It depends on the individual and their family needs.
Okay. Is there anything else that's kind of a basic staple of most kits?
Well, as I mentioned, the first aid supplies. So it's important to have some first aid supplies. And to me, that's basic. As if someone gets a cut, at least you've got those bandages in there, and that's what I've got in here. But they're, so depending on the duffel bag, you can put different things in here. So, for example, I've got these, gauze that I can put. I've got some bandages here that you can put in here. So a number of different things that I would consider are basic, but then at the same time, learn what they are. If there's some ointment there that you don't know what it's for, learn those things, and also teach your children and other family members, let them know what's in this kit. So if you ask someone to grab the kit, they know exactly what's in here. And that's the other key thing is the National Preparedness Month. Bring your family together, discuss these items. And this is just one of the components of being prepared. There are several other things that you can do also.
Now, what is your office doing for National Preparedness Month?
So we partner with a number of different agencies. We've done public service announcements, and then also at our office, we may end up doing some drills so that we can be prepared so that we're prepared. So one of the things I'll do is I've got a NOAA weather radio at my office. I make sure that that's working. If the batteries need to be changed, I'll change the batteries. Just over time, the batteries may start to die, so I'll make sure the batteries are changed. Smoke detectors, I'll make sure the batteries are changed in that. So that's something that our office will encourage people to do, and at the same time encourage our employees to do the same thing.
Okay. Now, I know I've seen through FEMA and some other national sources, they come out with like a different topic for each week and put something on social media. Are you doing anything like that?
We are following some of the topics. They've got a couple of different themes out there. But again, the Federal Emergency Management Agency is focusing on the national side. So at the state level and the local level, we may focus. So an example is if the FEMA is focusing on hurricanes, well, that's something we don't worry about here. So maybe we might be focusing on flooding instead. So different things that we'll push out, and residents can follow us on our social media. It's essentially on our website at protectdupage.org, and they can follow with us on some of the different things they're doing, and they can join in on this.
Okay. Now, at protectdupage.org, do you also have a checklist or a list of suggestions for an emergency kit?
Absolutely. Our website's got a wealth of resources. So besides having a checklist, we also have resources. So for example, I brought up this coloring book. Now this is, I've got a couple of different coloring books here, and these are just a couple of different resources. So we've got all of these resources and more on our website. For example, Disney partnered with the American Red Cross to create a Mickey and Minnie Mouse emergency preparedness coloring book, an activity book. So obviously I don't have that here with me, but that's available online, and there are a variety of games that are also available. So where kids can go on there and play a game, and it makes it more fun for them to learn about the different disasters.
Now, we've learned a lot about making an emergency kit. What other types of things would you like people to know about?
So residents getting a kit is just one of the steps. There are a number of other steps. So for example, there's making a plan, being informed, and getting involved. So for example, with making a plan, we encourage residents to talk to their family members and their children about making a communications plan. What are they going to do if their cell phones aren't working? What are they going to do if they are unable to go home? Where is that meeting location? Maybe in their neighborhood and outside of their neighborhood if for some reason they're not able to get home. So come up with those plans and working with your friends, with your loved ones, with your neighbors, so that if something does happen, everybody's on the same page. Maybe the entire neighborhood, if there's a civic organization, and maybe the entire neighborhood can get together and come up with a plan if something were to happen in that neighborhood. Now, being informed, I talked about our website, which is protectdupage.org. There are several other ways that residents can be informed. If you live in, for example, the city of Wheaton's got a great newsletter that I subscribe to, where I get alerts and different things that are happening in the city of Wheaton. So something like that, finding out what resources available in your community so that you could be better informed. And not only that, but finding out official resources. There's a lot of misinformation out there, especially with social media. So finding out official sources of information and subscribing to them.
I would add, for the city of Wheaton, we use Twitter to get out notices. We also have an email updates page where people can sign up, put your email in. You can either get press releases or weekly bulletin type thing. So for the city of Wheaton, those are
great.
Some resources.
And that's exactly what it is finding out the official sources, because chances are someone else may have created or shared some information, but is that really the accurate information? So that's one, is being informed, and then the last step is getting involved. If you are interested in volunteering, or if you want to learn more about how you can get involved and help out, your place of work or your place of worship, try to get involved in those activities. I know, at the mosque that I go to, I'm trying to get involved there and letting people know that here are the things they could do. Same thing with different churches and synagogues where people can get involved. And just share the knowledge that you have with others so that they can be better prepared. And again, volunteering, how can you best volunteer? Is it actually physically going there, or do they need monetary donations? And sometimes that may be the best thing to do, is provide donations, monetary donations, rather than goods or supplies, because that may be something that they really need, is just monetary donations, so that they can then allocate the funds to getting exactly what is needed. So start to think about those things now, rather than in an emergency trying to figure all of those things out.
Great. So can you review the 4 steps again for us?
Yes, so the 4 steps of being prepared is get a kit, make a plan, be informed, and get involved. And those are the 4 steps. And I've brought here just a kit to show that, and there are a variety of resources on our website on protectdupage.org where residents can learn how to be involved and be informed about the different resources.
And throughout the month of September, can people look to your social media and your website for other resources?
Absolutely. So if you don't have a social media account, don't worry. You can still log on. You can still go to our website and still be able to see the information that we share on our social media posts, because that's something that we hear from people, is they don't have a Twitter account, they don't have a Facebook account. But this is the same information that they will see on our website as what's being shared on our social media account. So throughout the month of September, please, we encourage residents to take a look at our website so that they can get that information and share that with them.
I think this gave us a good foundation for making a kit and being better prepared. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. September is National Preparedness Month, and the DuPage County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management encourages you to be prepared. For more information, please visit protectdupage.org.